Hi, I'm Jen with PepperHarrow, and I'm going to be walking you through today how to make your own handmade garland for your home. I got done with some Christmas decorating and I have the mantle left, so I'm going to make my own greenery garland. And you can too. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of how you can do that yourself. But before we get there, I'll talk to you really quickly about the different materials that we have laying in front of us. The first thing I have here is Western red cedar. I love red cedar because it looks like lace. It adds a lot of texture and dimension and wispiness to your garland. The next thing I have here is noble fir, and this is a noble fir bough. And it's already been stripped because we use some of the materials for wreath making classes. So I'm just gonna take some of these little side shoots that were left. This is like the straggler leftover material. And then the final thing I have here is white pine. I love white pine because it looks like a traditional country Christmas. So let's get started. All right. So the first step I'm going to do is start breaking down some of my greenery materials. And the key is not to make the greenery too big. Basically, we're just going to make it the size of our hand. Anything bigger than that, it'll really get floppy and you can't control if it pulls the rest of your garland down and doesn't hold well. So try to shoot for the size of your hand for how big you cut your pieces. And I'm gonna just take them and drop them in my basket here. So I'm going to keep breaking all of these down. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is do my noble fir. And again, you guys heard that this is leftover from making a wreath, so these are the leftovers. I'm going to go ahead and just cut off these little side branches here that you see straggling off. So I'm just going to snap those off really quick. Okay, our last ingredient that we're going to use here is this white pine. Again, love it. I'm going to just break it down. Again, hand-sized pieces. All right, now that our greenery is all cut and ready to go, I'm going to guide you through the process of how you can make your own greenery garland. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is a piece of string. This is just a little piece of twine that we have. I cut it the length of what my mantle is going to be. So I pre-cut my twine. Twine will work. You can use jute. You can use rope. I just like something a little bit thinner because if you use a thicker bit of rope, it ends up making your garland look a little bit more chunky. But people sometimes like a little bit thicker rope to be able to hang something off of and give it a little bit more solidity. It's personal preference. But here I have my twine ready to go. I have my 20 gauge paddle wire and I have my pair of snips. So I have this all ready to go. And now I'm gonna take some of my greenery. So I'm gonna take this beautiful white pine that we talked about, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of fir and a little bit of the cedar. I'm just gonna make a little greenery bouquet, basically. A little, people call them boutonniere style, just a little bunch. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna stick it on the end of my little piece of twine here. And I'm gonna take my paddle wire and take that little bouquet that I have and I'm gonna secure it onto the roping, the jute, the twine. And I'm gonna go around 3 times. It does get easier. The first thing that you put down is always the hardest. Feels like it's never gonna adhere. I like to do it nice and tight to make sure my first one is completely secure and in place. And the thing you're gonna keep in mind as you go is just to make sure that your greenery is always facing the top, kind of following a line. If you start to let it twist, it won't be even and it'll end up getting a little bit floppy and not look like it's supposed to go all one way. So just make sure you kind of follow your line all the way down and make sure you don't start putting it on the side or putting it on the bottom. And as you go, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about as you kind of go through your pattern. All right, so that's in place. My next one, I'm just gonna take a couple pieces of the white pine Again, I had said we want to go a little bit heavier on the pine. That's just my recipe, but again, it's personal preference, whatever you like. But the pine is kind of my focal for my design this year. So my little white pine bunch is in place. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do my greenery bunch with the 3 again for the next rotation. I have my white pine, my fir, and then I'm going to put in again the cedar. And I'm just gonna lay that on top of the last one that I put in place. And you basically are gonna lay this like shingles on a roof. You don't wanna overlap it too much, otherwise as I get going here, you're gonna see it get bigger and bigger. Or if I leave too much space, you're gonna end up seeing, when you lift this up, you're gonna end up seeing that there's a hole there. Okay, my 3rd bunch is in place. Now I'm just gonna go back to my pine again. Very light and fluffy looking, really love it. I just grabbed 3 pieces and I put it on here, and again, just overlapped it on the last bunch. Time-wise, the thing you want to kind of keep in your mind is to do about 10 feet. It's going to take you about an hour, so be patient. Give yourself a little bit of time, especially if you're trying to do something a little bit more substantial like this. And I think my mantle is about 10 feet, so it'll be an hour of working through this and making my own hand-tied garland. My garland is done, and I'm going to show you how I end it. So I got to the end, I have a little tiny piece of my jute left here, jute twine, sorry, I use that interchangeably, and I still have my wire connected. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my wire. Use wire cutters, I'm just cheating and using my flower snips. Just gonna wrap my wire around. And I'm just gonna take that twine and I'm gonna wrap it around the end loosely, and I'm just gonna make a knot. And I'm just gonna give it a trim with my snips, or a pair of scissors if you have them handy. Just trim up these last little tails on your greenery, on your twigs. So our greenery garland is ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and go set it on the mantle, and I'll check back with you and we'll see how it ends up looking. Now that our garland's done, we're ready to put it on the mantle. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it and just make sure the back side that is laying flat on the mantle. And I'm gonna carefully take it and make sure it doesn't flip over. And make sure that bottom part that we were working with is laying flat on the bottom of our mantle. We're gonna zhuzh it a little bit. This is our beautiful greenery garland. The next thing I'll probably do is take some dried oranges and tuck a few dried oranges in here and use those also to accent my little tree. You can see how beautiful and simple this looks, and it brings a lot of amazing fragrance into your home for the holidays. If you all like this video, hit that subscribe button and give us a like while you're at it. We'll see you next time, and happy holidays.